What is the weirdest thing you thought was a quirk but ended up being a disorder? I thought everyone could hear electricity humming. Like, I'd walk into a room and immediately know which outlets had something plugged in because they'd be buzzing. My family's house sounded like a beehive to me. The microwave hummed even when off, phone chargers whined, and don't get me started on fluorescent lights. I figured some people just had better hearing. When friends couldn't hear what I was talking about, I thought they weren't paying attention. Listen harder, I'd say, pointing at a wall outlet. It's right there. My parents thought I had an overactive imagination. When I was 7, I'd complain that my Nintendo was screaming, even when the TV was muted. My dad would check all the connections, find nothing wrong, and tell me to stop making things up. I learned to just deal with it. At sleepovers, I'd lie awake listening to my friend's house electrical symphony. Every digital clock was a tiny siren. Their cable box sounded like a mosquito trapped in a jar. I'd ask if we could unplug stuff, but they'd just stare at me confused. Unplug what? There's no sound. I started thinking I was some kind of superhero. Maybe I had enhanced hearing like a dog. I'd test myself by guessing which rooms had electronics running just from standing in the hallway. I was always right, which seemed to prove my theory. Middle school was when it got really bad. Our classroom had these ancient fluorescent lights that buzzed so loud I could barely concentrate. I'd raise my hand constantly asking if we could turn them off because they were making noise. Teachers would flip the switch, hear nothing, flip it back on, and give me detention for disrupting class. The computer lab was absolute hell. 30 old CRT monitors humming at different frequencies created this chaotic electrical orchestra in my head. I'd finish my assignments as fast as possible and ask to go to the nurse, claiming headaches. Because that's what they were. The constant buzzing gave me splitting headaches that lasted for hours. I started carrying tissues to stuff in my ears. Friends thought I was trying to ignore them, but I was just trying to muffle the electrical screaming that followed me everywhere. Movie theaters were nightmares. The projection equipment sounded like a jet engine to me, but everyone else seemed fine. High school brought new torture devices. The school got upgraded with smart boards in every classroom. These things emitted this high-pitched whine that made my teeth hurt. I'd sit in the back corner as far from the board as possible, but there was no escaping it. I developed this weird habit of mapping out buildings by their electrical noise. I could tell you exactly where every outlet, light switch, and plugged-in device was just by walking through once. My friends thought it was a party trick, but it was really just survival. Shopping became impossible. Best Buy felt like walking into a stadium full of screaming fans. Target's fluorescent lights created this wall of sound that followed me down every aisle. I'd have to cover my ears and speed walk through stores while my family shopped normally around me. The absolute worst was staying overnight at hospitals when my grandma was sick. Every machine beeped, hummed, or buzzed at different frequencies. Heart monitors, IV drips, even the digital thermometers created this symphony of medical noise that kept me awake for days. I started avoiding places entirely. No more electronic stores, no more staying late at school, no more sleepovers at friends' houses with lots of gadgets. My social life disappeared because I couldn't handle the constant electrical assault on my ears. School counselors suggested I had anxiety or ADHD. They couldn't understand why a normal environment was so overwhelming for me. I started thinking maybe I was just broken somehow. In college, my roommate caught me unplugging everything before bed. "Why are you doing that?" she asked. I explained about the noise keeping me awake. She stared at me for a long moment, then said, "Dude, there's no noise. That's not normal." One doctor's visit and hearing test later. I have hyperacusis and mild tinnitus. My brain processes electrical frequencies that most people filter out completely. Now I wear special earplugs and finally understand why everyone thought I was weird for hearing things that weren't there.